Hi, I'm Matt from Smoking Apples. I've worked with the Little Angel quite a few times, designing, teaching, performing, and they asked me to be part of story. So I decided to collaborate with my dad, who wrote a little story, and I built a model railway. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm David Lloyd. Smoking Apples asked me if I wanted to write a short story about trains for a young audience. I've seen many shows at the Little Angel and have worked on the railways from steam to underground for over 50 years. I was more than happy to get involved with the fun project. We present the Royal Scot Rescue. By 10 o'clock each morning, the railway shed with its 3 sets of tracks was almost empty. The 5 engines that were normally at the shed had all gone to work on passenger or goods trains. Only one engine was left, and it was having its boiler washed out and some minor repairs completed. 3 young cleaners were busy scrubbing the wheels with brushes and paraffin. Outside the engine shed were where the engines would have their fires cleaned and the ashes from the burnt coal thrown deep into the pit. Over on another siding was a small tank engine simmering in the sunshine. It had 3 coupled wheels. This engine was used to move coal trucks and other engines around the railway shed. It also went to the sidings to take empty coal wagons and bring back full wagons of coal. It wasn't used that much and only went up and down on the same track every few days. One of the tracks had a steep incline where wagons of loaded coal would be pushed into the coaling area. 2 men would fill the tenders or bunkers of the engines below them. It was a large goods engine that was going to be used later. All was peaceful and quiet. The men coaling the engine would sound the engine whistle when they had finished, and a driver and fireman would walk from the mess room and move the engine on one of the tracks leading into the engine shed. The large goods engine began to move by Driver Brown, with his fireman pulling levers that would change the track points. The engine was to be put onto the 3rd engine shed track. But Fireman Jones was not looking at what he was doing and should check carefully that the points were set correctly. Because he was not paying attention, the points did not set correctly, and the leading set of wheels of the goods engine came off and lodged themselves between the tracks. The engine shed master was very angry and shouted at the fireman. The men working on the engine in the shed were called to the scene, then went to load a trolley with equipment to lift the engine back onto the track. This would take several hours. The shedmaster went back to his office to make out a report about the incident, as the goods train that the engine was due to take to London would now be late. As the shedmaster began to write his report, the telephone on his desk rang. "Shedmaster," he said. "Control speaking," a voice replied. "Get over to the station, the Royal Scot engine has a problem." The shedmaster called his men working on putting the goods engine back on the track and told them to follow him. They walked over the tracks to the station and found a large green express engine surrounded by steam that appeared to be coming from everywhere. The shedmaster asked the driver of the engine what was wrong. "We are losing steam from a pipe and cannot move the train. We need another engine to help us until we can get another express engine," the driver explained. "We don't have another engine available," the shedmaster said. "The only one we have has just come off the track." "We have the shunter," Driver Brown said. "That useless engine? It can hardly pull more than 6 loaded coal wagons," the shedmaster replied. "We only need help to the next large station, which is only 20 miles away," the driver of the express engine said. "Go and get the shunter then, Driver Brown," the shedmaster said. "I will tell the signalman what we are doing, and you, Fireman Jones, get the shunter's fire ready to assist this express." Driver and the fireman went off to get the shunter, and the shedmaster went to see the signalman. Fireman Jones checked the steam pressure on the shunter, which was known as a saddle tank engine. The gauge showed the steam pressure to be 100 pounds. He would need to raise this to 150 pounds as quickly as possible. The fire was good, so he added more coal. Driver Brown moved the engine to the end of the shed yard, ready to go over and couple up to the express engine waiting in the platform. "We had better fill the tank up before we go," Driver Brown said. "Yes, I will do it now," Fireman Jones replied. The fireman climbed up onto the engine and opened the tank lid and put a large pipe inside. The driver turned the handle and water gushed into the tank. When it was full, the driver turned the water off and the pipe was removed, with the tank lid being locked shut. The signal was now clear and they moved onto the main line and shunted over several pieces of track until they arrived in front of the express engine. Fireman Jones coupled the shunter to the front of the express engine and, returning to the footplate, began to add more coal to the fire. Both engines whistled, and Driver Brown opened the regulator, as did the driver of the express engine, and slowly they began to move. Soon they plunged into a tunnel, and the smoke and steam filled the footplate, making Driver Brown and Fireman Jones cough and splutter. Back in the daylight, they slowly picked up speed to 40 miles per hour. The three coupled driving wheels of the shunter spun round very fast, and Fireman Jones was struggling to keep the boiler full up and the fire hot. As they ran into the next large station, Driver Brown and Fireman Jones, covered in soot and coal dust, were pleased to see another express engine waiting to take the train to Scotland. The two engines were uncoupled and moved onto the engine shed. The new express left with passengers waving out of the carriage windows. The Royal Scot Express was saved. After a rest and cup of tea, Driver Brown and Fireman Jones filled the shunter's water tank again and went back to their own shed. A story went round the engine shed about the little shunter. In fact, the engine was never called the shunter again, but the Royal Scot Rescue. From that day on, the Royal Scot Rescue was used every day on everything. The end.